Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. First of all, happy Easter to everyone who celebrates. I know we do. Family gets together all at my house, brother, nephews, nieces, girlfriends, boyfriends. They're all there. My wife gets to cook. She puts up a real meal, let me tell you. Family tradition. Us Italians like to eat. It's very important. Good meals with family is extremely important. Talk about therapy. That's great therapy. So, for sure, Easter Sunday is quite eventful. And it comes at a good time. I have a long weekend off, so I've taken Friday, Holy Friday, and Holy Monday as well. So we're going to have a long 4-day weekend. It came at the right time because it was a very hectic week, both for myself and my wife. Worked really hard. My wife was away a couple of days, came back. So, cooking for her is a little bit like me playing with my pens, if you will. Not that she has a lot of time to do so, but when she does, and she knows she's going to get family over, it's very exciting. So, you know what? It's good for all of us. Now, back to Fountain Pen Therapy. I've got lots for you. Lots of products have come in. I want to show them all to you. We're going to do some, as usual, we're going to show some pens. We're going to show some interesting notebooks. Part of my challenge to find the alternative, or the ultimate alternative to Tomoe River paper. And some of these notebooks I've already reviewed in some of my other videos. But of course, it's a question of putting them one next to the other, one every week, so that eventually we come close to finding that alternative. I got to tell you, there's a few front runners, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. And we've got some inks that we're going to swatch. Yeah, Ferris wheel inks. You know what? I got to get with it, and I'll explain that in a few minutes when we get to the swatching. So we'll do some swatching of those inks. We're going to do some writing with these brand new instruments I've got in. Got a few surprises for you. Little, short unboxings just to tease you a little bit. And you know what? We've got pens revisited. I've got a few pens that I want to revisit and answer some questions. And then we're going to kind of gather our thoughts and work out the weapons for the next week. And then we'll close with some YouTube reviews. So, without any further ado, Fountain Pen Therapy presents its weekly recap for April the 5th, Easter Sunday, 2026. Okay, so we're back with the first segment, which is market news. Let's take a look at, we'll go to my computer, I'll show you what I've been able to find that's interesting. And I think that the most interesting stuff that I saw this week, and that won't cost us a fortune, is this product, folks. It looks like Majon has come out with a soft, what they call a soft flex nib. It appears to be a Majon number 6 size nib. I've ordered one, so stay tuned, folks. We'll be taking a look at that. I forget if I ordered it it comes either with the whole section or just the nib. I believe I ordered it just the nib, which in hindsight, for $2 more, maybe I should have gotten the section. But it will accommodate the P136, the P137, 138, and the P139. There appears to be one size. It goes from very fine, 0.4 to 2 millimeters. So it looks like it's going to give us a nice spread. If we are going to rely on the pictures, you can see there that it appears to have some interesting flex. But what's to note here is that I think the Chinese market that's been accused of just not having great variety in their nibs, once again have stepped up. And over the years, you've got this fascination with the long knife and long blade, and now flex nibs appear to be in the picture as well. We've got number 6 size nibs for a long time, but now we have the beautiful number 8 size nibs that some of the Chinese pen makers have come up with. So very interesting developments when it comes to the Chinese market. It looks like they've stepped up their game. And take a look at this. It's $17.99 with the section. Without it, the nib cost $15. I don't know what Yowo nibs are going for these days, but it's anywhere between $25, $30. So again, price is good. We'll see what the quality is like, and we'll see what that product will give. Very shortly, I expect to receive it. What else have I got for you? Then I've just got a series of pens that I've seen. This is what they call the JD21. JD is that infamous or famous pen brand that had those big, heavy custom urushi inspirations or fakes. And this one appears to be also used by Baloyoy with their flex nib that comes at around $80, $90. But you can get the pen with a JD, I think it's just a simple Yowo nib in my view. Nothing special. But that pen interests me. So I may very well order it just for the pen. It looks like a Pro Gear kind of a shape. But at $33, I think I might give it a go. What else have I got for you? Wing Sung appears to have come up with some of these cheaper offerings. Well, cheaper. It's $61. But it's a wooden pen that resembles a lot what Dieman has done. But when you look at the inside, it appears to have a metal section as opposed to a wood section. It's stabilized wood. Very familiar. It comes in either fine, bent curved with a small line, or bent curved with a larger medium line. Interesting. For those of you who enjoy wood, stabilized wood, these might be interesting for you. What else have I got for you? Then I've got this company by the name of Yongsu. I think that's Wing Sung. Just one of their, again, divisions. Some interesting dual-fold inspired pens. Old dual-fold, I would say vintage dual-fold, and they actually say it, replica dual-fold. But, dual-fold, their patent, Parker's patent on that dual-fold pen is expired, so it's free game. To what extent these acrylics are of any, of any substance, we shall see. It comes with either what they call a Yongsu fine nib or a Wing Sung fine nib, but it's the old Wing Sung fine nibs from what I gather when I take a look at the picture. Take a look at these nibs. Those must be the Yongsu nibs. And in one of the pictures, you just see the nib, and it looks like, if you expand it, it looks like, or zoom in on it, it looks like a Wing Sung nib. So there you have it. I don't know. $67 appears to be a little too much. We shall see. We shall see. Have I got anything else for you? No, that's it. We've gone through that one. Let's go outside of the Chinese market. On Peyton Street Pens, I've got one of my grail pens that I've been hunting for, which is this one. And by the way, it's now, Visconti has come out with their Homo sapiens with this beautiful red and blue celluloid. Really nice. Does it give you a Peyton? Yeah, take a look at that. I mean, this pen has been in my sights for a while, but it's a $950 US, which means roughly 1,003, 1,004, 1,005 Canadian. It's right now, it's out of my budget. I've blown my budget, and you'll see why in the next couple of weeks. So it's unfortunate, but I won't be able to put my hands on that. But if anybody who's got the funds, this is a beautiful pen, and it's actually the. Do I have the? No, I may have. Here it is, the Visconti. That's the Visconti vintage, but there is another Visconti Homo sapiens that has just come out, which has that same material, if you will. What else have I got for you? Well, Leonardo Essenza. This is a new model from the Leonardo. This is Casa della Stilografica who's offering this, coming soon. They call it the Leonardo Essenza. It looks like a different shape pen. No center band, $356. I'm not sure if it comes with that nice number 8 size steel nib. It may. It looks huge here. We shall see. Then you have here, we have a new model from Leonardo, which is called the Virtuosa. So interesting, Leonardo's come up with other brand or other models other than their Momento Zero Grande. This Virtuosa is really interesting at 122 euros. I've got to choose one of them. It's a pity it comes in number 6 size only, but it looks like an interesting new model from them, a little sleeker. So Leonardo is coming up with brand new offerings. I've got new inks. This is Stilo Stile from Tatcha. So look for these Tatcha inks that have just come out. They're 40 milliliter bottles, and Tatcha inks are always really, really nice. At 17, roughly 18 euros, which is roughly $19, $20 US. That may be worthwhile. They're coming in lots of colors. Stilo Stile's got them, and I'm sure they'll be available on other sites as well. I thought I did pull out for you, but I guess I don't have it here. Let me just see something. Do they have that? Here it is. The Visconti Homo Sapiens Legacy. That's a beautiful pen. Just an absolutely gorgeous pen. But what's it going for? A little too much. I think it's even more expensive. Oh, there you have it. It's $1,400 euros, which translates into $2,000 Canadian. Completely outmatched. It's out of my budget, many people's budgets. And we'll take a look at that. I think the consensus, at least in my viewership, is that Italian pens are beautiful, nice. Some of them have great inks, great nibs, but they're just overly priced. And this is just another example. It's got classic, but at $2,000, not many people take the dive. It is what it is. So that's it for market news that I wanted to mention, that I thought was worthy of mention. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up here, clear the desk, and we'll take a look at some of the products that have come in, and we'll start with paper. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. See, these are some of the paper products that I've purchased and have come in this week. And this, of course, based on, I listened to my viewers, and some of them recommended certain paper to rival with the Tomo River. And so I've taken the jump. This is the Kokyo Jibon-teko. They're popular for those nice agenda type, calendar type of notebooks. I didn't want to buy one with that was a calendar model, but perhaps just a notebook. I think they only come in these thin notebooks, but I understand that this paper, this Kokyo idea paper is really, really nice. So I think we're going to be reviewing this as part of the challenge sometime soon, maybe as early as next week. Another viewer asked me to take a look at this mark, which is Michelarius. I'm not sure if it's Spanish. I believe it is. I may be wrong. Let me just, made in Spain. I think I bought this on Amazon. It appears to be paper that's very similar to some of the Clairefontaine offerings, the Rodeo offerings, but we'll take a look at this eventually. I'm not sure that this is going to go into the running with alternative for Toma River paper for me, but certainly it's a notebook worthy of mention. It looks like it's a contender for fountain pen friendly paper in any event, but we shall see. Maybe we'll throw it in the challenge so that that viewer will be pleased to see it. So there you have the two, but there's a third one, and this is, I think, one that will perhaps challenge Toma River. I'm not sure. I don't like the format of this notebook. I was only able to find it in a very small size, but apparently it's available on some of the Chinese sites, which you have to kind of struggle with a little bit. But so fine stationers. I was able to find this. Very nice packaging. It's this recommended Crena Spark paper. Now, as you can see, it only came in, I ordered it in this very small, I'm even wondering if it's smaller than A6. It looks like A6, but maybe perhaps even slightly smaller. Actually, I think it's B7 Slim. So there you have it. But I'm looking forward to maybe reviewing this. And hopefully by the time I get to review it, I will be able to find an A5 size of this paper. But I wanted to shout out to that viewer who recommended this paper. Eventually, I think we're going to get to it. We're going to review it. But for this week, these are not the papers that I'm going to be swatching. But I did want to show you what came in. I think the paper we're going to go with, and we don't want to lose sight of it. And I've reviewed this paper before, but we'll just put it into the challenge because it certainly deserves to be there. And that's MIDORI. Okay, I don't want anybody to think that I've forgotten about MIDORI. On the contrary, MIDORI is in the run, as they say. And I have two formats here. I have the A5 notebook in the grid, graph grid lines. And I have what this is kind of a notepad that you can, just tear off the page. From what I gather, it's the same paper on both, although I think that perhaps one of them is slightly thicker than the other. I wasn't able to confirm that, but the paper is the same. So it's that nice MIDORI paper. So what we're going to do is we're not going to swatch on. I did want to show you a couple of swatches I had already done on this paper as part of my review, and take a look at that. And MIDORI is very, very popular for performance of inks. Here you have the Aurora Australis from Van Dieman's that we looked at very, very recently. Take a look at how the ink performs there. This is the Jacques Arbin Emeraude de Chivor, which of course is another very, very popular ink when it comes to shimmering and sheening inks. Take a look at that. And this guy's a bad boy. This is the Sandugo from Vinta. But it messes up everything. Messes up your fingers, your pen. I don't recommend it unless you're a real. But take a look at that. It's almost mirror-like, So, this paper is definitely known for bringing out inks. But we're going to be using the notepad. And, of course, we're going to be, comparing it to Toma River. So what I propose, I'm going to put all this stuff away, prepare my swatching tools, get the water going, and and I'll propose the 3 inks I have for you this week. Be right back. Okay, so we're back, and the 2 notebooks are ready, and here are the inks that I propose for you. And I've purchased, 6 Ferris wheel inks. I know that I've been critical of Ferris wheel, and it's Canadian companies. I'm quite proud of the fact that we have a Canadian company, being a Canadian, in the forefront. I just cannot tolerate their bottles, and it's kind of made me stay away from the inks, which are unfortunate because I know they have some wonderful packaging and all the rest of it. But lately I was approached by Ferris wheel to, they haven't contacted me since, but they're interested in doing some kind of a blog with me. And they've also sent me an email offering me an ambassadorship. I'm not sure whether or not I'll go for it. I'm still pondering. I want to remain as objective as I can. And I don't want anybody to think that, because you're an ambassador, you're getting products, you're almost becoming their advertising arm. On the other hand, the advantage is that it provides me with inks that I can show you. And then you can make up your own mind. So that's kind of, and I don't have to dish out the money for it because these things are quite expensive. So I got to think about it. Whenever you're approached by somebody, it's always the dilemma. You don't want to disappoint anybody, but you want your independence and you want your viewers to be assured that you're giving them an objective review of things. But here are the inks. The first one that I have is the Royal, and I think I bought these on sale. So I figured if I'm going to take the dive and either do a blog with them or even become an ambassador, I need to get with it, so to speak, and test these bottles and see, are they as bad as I think they are? But we shall see. So this is the first one, Royal Rhubarb. Which I like this color because it reminds me of Yamabudo. So that's the first one. Let me just put this packaging away. The second one that I have, and the bottles are beautiful. I mean, they look like perfume bottles. Bluebell Brush Strokes. So this blue one is Bluebell Brush Strokes. Let me just remove that from its packaging. Beautiful packaging. I must admit, they're all their marketing is done very, very well. And by the way, along with these 6 inks, we're going to review 3 this week and 3 next week. I've also bought one of their pens. I'll take a look at the pen in just a few minutes after the swatching as part of my pen haul. This third ink is Central Park Greens. So here we go. Let me just put just so that if I need to, because I won't remember the names. You know me, I'll forget it. I'm going to keep these boxes. Okay, so now I know they sell this carousel or this kind of a triangular, almost tripod where you can put the ink in. So it's a kind of an acknowledgement that these bottles are not the most secure in the world. It's $55, that's the price, but they're out of stock. You can get them elsewhere at a premium. So not only do they make the bottle that kind of doesn't stand up with a small, very small neck, but they even charge you for the carousel. I know that Inquiring Minds, I think his son, produces this kind of a 3D-ish plate or base where you can put the bottle ink and it prevents it from falling. It also, there's another one for Robert Oster inks, I believe, but I couldn't get it in time. But what I decided is that instead of that, I have, now where is it? Where did I put it? Just one second, bear with me. My Diplomat Nexus came with this. You kind of put your pen there and you can put your ink there. And it fits, obviously, meant to fix Diplomat products. But I thought I'd use that today. It kind of, you improvise. And it does provide more stability in any event. So we're going to use that instead. Okay, how's that? Okay, let's start with the rhubarb. Okay, so Yeah, and you can see that the neck is very small as well. Now it has this plastic covering. Okay, we got it. Okay, we're all set. Ah, it's rhubarb. It's more on the brown tint, so not as pinkish as the box would lead you to believe, and therefore not really resembling Yamabudo, which has got that pinkish tint. Okay, so royal rhubarb. Now we know this is all Ferris wheel, so I'm not going to write Ferris wheel just to speed things up. Royal rhubarb. Okay. It's a nice ink, though. And it's not sparkling, which which makes it, usable a little more. Let's put it this way. I still have mixed feelings about sparkling inks. Now let me just make sure that, is this sparkling? I think I try to go with as many non-sparkling inks, but in case it is, I need to shake it. I think the necks on these bottles are a little bit larger than the other ones they have, which are kind of more like a ball, which is good news. This looks like an interesting blue. Oh yeah, this could be a very interesting black-blue ink. There we go. Let me give you the name again. They have these wonderful names. Bluebell brush strokes. A little long, but nonetheless. Okay, so let's just dip that. So this is Bluebell brush strokes. And just to touch on the paper, the Midori paper is excellent. What puts it in the foreground for an alternative, I think, is that it comes in various sizes, and the notebook size A5, which is my preferred, is readily available. It comes, I think, in different lines as well. So it does put it, in the picture, no doubt. I think what I dislike about, and dislike is a big word, what I think where the difference is, and it's actually, some people might find it an advantage. First of all, the paper is much thicker, okay, than Tomoe River, and it does have much more texture than Tomoe River, in my view. Okay, I was hoping that this green was a little bit darker. It looks like a very light green, which is not the type of ink that I enjoy in a pen. But we shall see. We may even ink a pen just to see. Sometimes you're surprised. This is called the Central Park Greens. Whoop, I think I over-dipped it. That's not good. Let me just wash that out before I... Okay, I just want to get rid of all the water, because it appears to be very watery. So this is Central Park. Well, it's not as bad as I thought. Yeah, but it's very light. Greens. But, you know, some people enjoy these very light inks, so, you know, I shouldn't... well, I'm giving you my opinion, and it's subjective, obviously, and tell you what it's like, and then it's up to you to decide whether or not it's the type of ink that you enjoy or not. So those are the three inks. I keep, you know, some variety, a reddish ink, a bluish ink, and a green. As it's drying up, you can definitely start to see how that Midori may be even better in terms of how it shows inks than Tomoe River. But we'll let it dry, and then we'll come back and draw some conclusions. So be right back. Okay, so we're back with the inks. They're nice and dry, and you can see that, well, first of all, you've got to notice that this Tomoe River, although in an ivory, it's got an ivory tint to it. It's not as you know, beige or ivory as the Midori. So that could make a difference in terms of how the colors show up. But as you can see, very nice. It's got a little more of a pinkish tint on the Tomoe River, and it has a little more warmer tint, and perhaps because of the color of the paper itself in the Midori, but I think it's much sharper on the Midori. Like this Bluebell brushstroke ink, because it gives you both shading and lots of sheen. You can see the shading right here from light to dark, and with the red shades. I'm very curious to see how it works out in actual fountain pens. And the green, I'm not crazy about. Again, a little warmer and a little bit, you know, it's got a different green. It's colder here on the Tomoe River and warmer on the Midori. But the paper, as I mentioned, is, you can see how the notepad works, is a little thicker, so you would expect it to have much less see-through. You can see here in Tomoe River, there's a botching there, so that there is some penetration. Here, there isn't. A bit of ghosting. Curious enough, there's a little more ghosting on the Midori than there is on the Tomoe River for some reason, but still a very, very nice paper. Midori is definitely in the run of things, but we'll do more in-depth writing with this Midori, and we'll maybe use the notebook once we do the pen-all, and maybe we'll use it with other pens as well. So that's the swatching exercise. Stay tuned for my next segment. Now, before we get to the pen-all, I have another haul here for you, which is received this from AliExpress, and it's one of the notebook covers, leather covers that I had recommended to some of you in an earlier episode, and it's finally come in from Contact's family. I like this brand because it's very affordable and usually fairly good quality. We shall see how this one works out. Very interesting packaging for which you don't often see with some of the Chinese products, I hate to say. Contact's family. Here you go. They also give you a kind of a certificate of conformity. It gives you a description of the product itself. It comes in this nice sleeve. Oh, wow. Let me tell you, that is really, well, you can smell the leather. That is really, really nice. This thing's a pain, but it came with it. That is very, very nice. I was not expecting it to be this soft, but let's see how a notebook fits in there. I've been using lately, by the way, this Hemlock and Oak notebook. I've been playing around with it this week. Very nice. I like the way it feels. It writes somewhere in between, I would say to you, a Rhodia feel and a Tomoe River feel. It's just in between. It's got a little more. It's very, very smooth and maybe coated, a little more, but than Tomoe River, but less than Clairefontaine and Rhodia. So it's kind of an in between, which is really nice. I've been enjoying it. The line is a little bit thinner on the fountain pen. In other words, the ink doesn't come down, doesn't blotch as much as it does. I think it's a little thicker. Whoop, it's not fitting. Let's just hope that, yeah, it just needs to be played around with a little bit. Well, you know what? I don't want to do this on camera. Let me do this outside camera so I don't waste your time. You don't see my hands trembling, and I'll be right back. Okay, had some difficulty getting the hemlock oak in it. I got a feeling that the cover is just tiny, slightly longer and bigger, and it's going to fit, but I didn't want to waste too much time because this kind of leather here, cowhide, it doesn't slip very nicely. And I found that my Sterling ink notebook, the recent one, the thicker one that I just bought, fitted in much easier. But that one will fit. I think it's an A5 size. You just have to be patient. And as you can see, it takes in a larger notebook really nicely. So you can either put in the smaller sized one or the larger. Contacts family. I like the leather. Feels nice. Let me see if I can fit a pen in there. What kind of a pen can I fit? Let's start with a thin pen, like this B25. Majon B25 should fit in easily, I think. Yeah, even with a give. I have this thicker Delta Napoli. Let's see if that fits. Well, you know what? That's a big pen. Fits nicely. I think where the problem is there. So you're going to have to kind of, yeah, but it's doable. You just have to, get it in. And the more you play with it, more the leather will, form to your needs. But I think that this notebook, I think I paid it, what did I pay this? Just give me a second. Yeah, paid it $17.89 Canadian. Did not come with paper. Size A5. $17.89, folks. I mean, this is $18 on AliExpress. It's cowhide. I think it's very, very nice. I'm very pleased with it. I might just go ahead and buy a few of these and put all my notebooks. If they have different colors, I think they do. I went more like of a reddish brown. So I thought I mentioned that. That's one of the things that's come in this week. What else have I got for you? Oh, something in here. Let's see what's in here. AliExpress again. I don't think it's anything new. I think it's a pen that we've seen, but I thought I'd get it because I wanted to get the particular model. I think I know what it is. It should be that one. Yeah, here it is. Oh, wow. That's nicer than I thought. Here we go. It's the lemon. And this is, let me just make sure I get it right. It is the Lemon M. Bear with me. Checking my orders at AliExpress. I don't want to get the number wrong. Yeah, M1A. It's the M1A. Very nice. It's metal. Now, it's got some weight to it. I don't believe it's aluminum. They refer to it as hand-polished nib. Yeah, I remember getting that nice hand-polished nib. I think it's just metal, and it's kind of frosted. There may be some aluminum alloyed in there as well. But I like the weight on this pen. I really do. There's that gorgeous nib that I think is going to perform just beautifully. It's got a really nice, the nicest finial lemon. They offer different models or different designs. I like this black and silver. It kind of, I wanted to see how it rivals with some of my titanium pens. I'm also thinking about getting the Leonardo Officina Italiana, that aluminum finish. I know that this nib should perform nicely. It's never let me down. It's one of the nicest nibs on the market. And I believe this is a piston filler. Yeah, the mechanism is really nice. You know what? We're going to put maybe that blue brushstroke Ferris wheel ink in here. And it should work out really, really nicely. So stay tuned for that. We're going to do some writing with this pen. But I got to tell you, folks, if you're thinking about getting the lemon pen in the M series, I have a few, or we'll do the writing sample. I'll pull out the ones I have. This, to me, is probably the nicest one of the gang. Looks like it's well made. I'm not going to do a separate review of this pen, but I like the integration of the center band. The clip is that Parker Arrow clip. I like the finial. I really love the finial. I'm glad I chose this one. I like the integration of the piston. The piston knob turns really smoothly. In terms of feel, very nice feel, good size. Does it post? It even posts to boot, and I think it posts beyond the piston, so it doesn't trigger the piston. Makes it a little heavy right here, and you got to kind of push it in order for it to stay there. And I don't like the idea of posting it because it's going to scratch this metal barrel, so I wouldn't post it. But got good size and good weight as well, so that's a nice addition. I've been looking at that pen for a while now, and I've always hesitated because of the price. But the price went down, so I figured, you know what, let's go for it. Okay. So what else have I got for you? So that's the first one. The next one, I mentioned the Ferris wheel pen that came, or that I ordered with the inks. It's this one. They call it the Carousel Stylo Plume, or Carousel Fountain Pen. I heard there was the other ones that are kind of metal pens that did not get great reviews. And they were more expensive than this one. I like the shape of this pen and the model. It kind of mimics a Kaweco. It's a pocket pen. And we're going to kind of put it against some of the Dieman. Here it is. I like the color. Carousel. Nice finial. Very nice finials. Finial at the bottom says Ferris wheel. Press. Does it turn? Or is it a snap-on? Turns. Not the smoothest. No, not smooth at all. I guess with time it'll smooth out. It's got a beautiful design on its on the section there. I think that's a unique section. Never had one that had so many facets. Nice size. Does it post? Oh yeah. I think it even screws in. Posts very nicely. Nice feel. Let's see if that nib writes. It appears to be a number 5 size nib. I'll put the price up on the screen. I forget how much I paid for this. Again, I'm a little bit weary about posting it just because it's metal on metal. What's in there? Let's just see. Where is my flashlight? Actually, take a look at the lemon as well. Yeah, there appears to be sealing, some capping there. So a little step down, which is okay, but it's never a guarantee that it's not going to dry up on you. These lemon nibs pens have always been very good. Yeah, and I can see like a plastic interior sleeve there. and there's a step as well. I've never had any problems with lemon pens drying up. So that's the second one. What else have I got for you? Oh, yes. I got the pièce de résistance, I think. My friend Nino Marino came through again. As I mentioned to you, when I got my Dolce Vita Mini, and this is an original, it's been one of my grail pens. And if you saw my review, you'll see I have interviewed Nino Marino when I went to Italy in Naples. And we spent the day together, and he explained the origins of this pen and the fact that this little guy is in his pocket sleeve on a daily basis and has been for the last 30, 40 years. So there you have it. It's a nice little pen. So, but the one I purchased came with a steel nib, as it turned out. It's now got a gold Monte Grappa number 5 gold nib. But so I asked him, I said, can you sell me a gold nib to go with this pen? And he said, Vincent, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to send you the current version of the Dolce Vita Mini, the DV 2.0, if you will. So you'll be able to compare it and show it off to your viewers. And it will come with, I believe it's a 14 karat, maybe an 18 karat, 14 karat nib. And here is the package he sent me. I'm going to spare you with this. It's just a card, and he wrote best wishes, and he did give some instructions to the pen. But here is a nice ribbon. Here's the sleeve. And here's the pen. Very nice. This has gold colored trimmings as opposed to the silver ones. I got some cartridges because this is not a cartridge converter. It's an actual converter style. The finial is a little bit bigger, and it has the more modern brand, Delta branding. This one has the older branding, but as you can see, very similar. But what I'm going to be doing is different band as well, but we'll take a look at these pens in a more detailed review. I plan to do a kind of a Dolce Vita before and after, but for the time being, I did want to show it to you. Is it a 14 or an 18 karat? Whoa, the handwriting is small. Give me a second. We're going to use my loop. It's 14 karat, folks. So this comes with the 14 karat nib. In fact, I recently found a 14 karat Delta nib, number 5 size. So I think I'm going to take away the Monte Grappa and put in the 14 karat so that when we do our comparison, we'll compare apples with apples and compare the resins. We'll compare the way it looks, the way it feels. But stay tuned for that. So that came in. Thank you very much to Nino Marino. And I did promise that I would do he wants me to do a review, a comparison of the two. So I will do it, but maybe we'll do it in the context of comparing other recent versions of the Dolce Vitas with my oversize. I'll think about how I'm going to structure the video, but so stay tuned for a video on that sometime very soon. So there you have the 3 pens that have come in this week. What we're going to do is put it on a nice soft bed. Here we go. They're all 3 there. What we're going to do is we're going to ink them up, except for this one, but I'll ink up the other 2, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back. We're going to do some writing with those newly acquired pens. First of all, the Ferris wheel carousel. What I noticed is I omitted to mention that it is a cartridge converter, but man, I don't know. I had really a hard time filling that. Look at that. Hardly have any ink in there. It just doesn't suck up the ink. The converter is really, really bad quality. They should spend just a few dollars more, and why ruin the whole experience? So had a hard time picking up some of the ink in there. Having said that, let's see how it writes. I don't want to cap it because I'm afraid I'm going to scratch it. It's big enough uncapped. So this is it's a fine Ferris wheel press carousel. That's got a number 5 steel fine nib. Whoa, some baby's bottom there. That's not good. Well, it keeps more baby's bottom. Something's wrong there. The ink is Ferris wheel press. Is it Royal? Yeah, Royal Rhubarb. Well, other than that little mess right there, the baby's bottom, I may have to play around with the nib a little bit. It's fairly smooth and wet. For a fine nib. So I really have nothing to complain about. If I compare it, let's compare it to, and the price of this Ferris wheel carousel is, well, on the site, it's $83 for this pen. That's where I think, because it has this kind of copper finish, or it's aluminum, I think it's an aluminum finish. It's $83. Otherwise, the pen it does come in kind of an acrylic plastic for like $15 approximately, 15 to 20 depending on where you buy it. But, you compare it to this M2 from Dieman, which is $40. And this is made out of brass. This is the Dieman M2 brass. Same thing. Let me tell you, folks, this is half the price of this thing. And I'm not going to make myself much of an ambassador, but I have to be objective. And this Dieman M2 is twice as cheap and just leaps and bounds over this one, both in terms of quality of the pen and the nib. But I was pleasantly surprised. I still must say that the nib on this pen is fairly smooth. It did give me a little baby's bottom there. Was it because the converter didn't suck up the ink properly? I don't know. Maybe it's got something to do with that. But just it goes to show you, again, this little M2 is just very hard to beat. Now, let's see my other pen. We've got my Lemon M1A or M2A, M1A I think it is. Let me just make sure. I don't want to get it wrong. It's the Lemon M1A. So this is the, M1A. And I'm going to put in metal. The nib is a number 6, skipping a little bit for some reason, steel. And one of the things I don't do is I don't wash out these pens when I buy them, and you always should. Number 6 steel, I guess it's a hand-polished, there it skipped a me again, hand-polished. It's a medium nib. So it's got that little bit of a Nagyanada tipping. You see it there? Kind of an architect styled. Beautiful nib. Yeah, I could see that. I needed to. I almost feel like there's some material on that nib. You need to wash it out when you buy them. And I never do. Bad habit. So there you have the Lemon M1A. How does it compare to the others? Well, you can see here I have other M versions. You can see the different finials. I'm glad I chose this black and silver for that pen. And the other ones kind of match. This green one is the, let me just make sure, they got all these numbers and it's hard to keep track. The green and gold is the M2S. Look at this, I haven't written with this in ages. 2S, it's green and gold. I believe this is a fine, and it's probably a long knife. I forget now. It feels different from the hand-polished medium. Then I have this, I think this is the Lemon M6. This is a no-no, because they went ahead and put a Mont Blanc kind of branding, but it only has five points as opposed to 6. So this is the, let's see if it writes. Oh yeah. Hand polished. Medium. Very nice, folks. Talking about the nib. This is kind of Little Prince from Mont Blanc. Clone, if you will, but it's light, writes really nicely, and that nib makes it worthwhile. I then have the, let me just shift here. This is the Lemon M8. Again, I think it's inspired by one of these Guilloche Mont Blanc pens. This is the Lemon. Yeah, I haven't written with this in a while. I even wonder if it has any ink. A little dried up, but not much. Bad habit of mine. This is a piston filler, so I can't really see how much ink is in there, but, you know, not washing out your pens, well, I'm guilty of that. Okay, and then just to show you how this, this one is kind of a, it's got this kind of a big blob, big tip. I think it's meant to be purchased so you can grind it down to whatever you want. It writes like a, this is a M2S, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, it writes like a double broad. It's got that new ink that I just purchased. It's got the, because I had to ink it. It's got the rhubarb. So it's got the Ferris wheel rhubarb. You can see the camera's not doing justice. It's coming down as a dark red, almost with black-brown tint to it. But this is also Ferris wheel rhubarb. When you use a finer nib, you can see how it's coming down. So it's kind of a nice red. Got a little bit of a rhubarb color, as it turns out. So there you have it. Those are in terms of, wanted to show you how these pens write. Oh, by the way, the Lemon M1A, this blue one here, is indeed the Bluebell brushstroke ink. I like it. It's not a wet ink. It has a little bit of dryness to it, but I don't know if you could see you could see some of the shading, and you can see some of the red sheen right here. So very nice. We're going to ink other pens. Maybe for the pens of the week, my weapons for the week, we're going to ink that blue. I really like it. It's kind of a dark blue-black with some shading and some sheen. I think that could be a very enjoyable ink. So there you have it, folks. That's my pen haul. We'll be right back with the next segment. Okay, so we're back for Pens Revisited. What pens will I want to revisit with you? Well, first of all, let's take a look at the two pens that we reviewed this week. This beautiful pen, which is the Aurora International. Now, you know, I mentioned how this pen was a little bit lighter than what I expected. And I think one of the viewers put it well. It does have that vintage feel. And, you know, vintage pens, for example, the Omas pens were of this size and this kind of weight. This one, I must admit, is a little heavier than some of those Omas vintage pens that I have. I can assure you of that, maybe because it has the piston filler. Speaking of the piston filler, I also looked into, and the viewers mentioned it as well, this does not unscrew, this section here. The nib section can be unscrewed, and you can get to the cleaning aspects that way, or you can remove the piston if you use the proper key. But that's the pen. Now, some of you said, $1,000 pen, it's just a Parker ripoff. There are some differences. It is, I think, a dual-fold inspiration, perhaps. It's been around for a long time, but it does have its differences. You know, the clip, the middle section. You know, it's got a general shape, but I think is a little different. And frankly, this thing that cost me, I think, $800 never writes. This is the Parker. Let me see if it writes. There you go. It doesn't write. Dries up on me right away. Real disappointment. Spent a lot of money for this Parker Duofold. It is an original. I still think it's a Grail pen, but it dries up. This thing, I think, is overpriced, but so is the Parker Duofold. But it writes, and that nib is just stupendous. So, for all the critics, I acknowledge that the pen is too expensive. I did get it at a discount, as I mentioned in my video, so that's a good thing. Whether I would have spent full price for it, I think eventually yes. Just that show you my Italian bias. It's just an icon. If you look at Aurora, you've got to have the Aurora International if you're an Aurora fan. And that nib, just excellent. You know, can a nib come out, scratchy? Yes. It's happened to my Optima Sole Mio. But, it's the exception, not the rule. Generally speaking, these pens are really nice. Somebody mentioned, is that celluloid? I don't believe it's celluloid. I think it's Teresa asked me. I think it's Teresa Harris. I think it's resin, not celluloid. I don't believe. If somebody has the answer, let me know. Or let us know. Put it down in the comments. But there you have it. I'm really enjoying this pen. Beautiful pen. So that's my Aurora. The other pen we reviewed this week, and talk about a contrast in price, right? The TWSBI. The TWSBI. First of all, I was taken aback that I've been trying to publish the video on this TWSBI Obsidian for a while now. I've mentioned it, I think, for several weeks, and then of course Inquiring Minds went ahead and published a video last week or last weekend. But he appeared to have some similar comments. He also used the same ink in here, which is that Jacques Urbain brown shimmering ink. I can tell you, forget it, folks. In this pen anyway, my experience, It clogged up my pen immediately. This is several weeks ago. I think within a day or two I couldn't write with this thing anymore. So I switched up the ink. It's a nice color combination because it brings out the brown and the silver of this beautiful finish. But it's not agreeable with this pen, I don't think. So this is the TWSBI Obsidian. I forget the ink I put in here. It's a brown ink. It's a dark brown ink. I was going to say Noce Moscato, but it's coming out from Leonardo. It's coming out a little bit darker than... yeah, the Moscato ink is a little lighter than this. But once I replace the ink with this one, and I apologize, I forget which one it is, I can tell you that it's been writing ever since. It hasn't dried up. It's performing really well. It just didn't like that Jacques Urbain, I forget the name of the ink. It's kind of a brown, shimmering ink. And no, nice color combination, but doesn't really augur well for the pen itself. But since I've replaced it, works really, really nicely. So that's my revisit of the Obsidian. The next thing I wanted to mention to you is sometimes we're playing around and buying all kinds of pens, and you kind of forget, That's why I think this pen revisited segment of my recap allows me to revisit what I've got in my collection. Apologize for all the ink in my fingers. I was convinced that the Asvine had not come out with the number 6 1.1 stub. In fact, I recall having mentioned in one of my recaps one of my reviews when we were looking at the number 8 size nib of Asvine with the 1.1 stub. I think it was probably in one of my V800s. I mentioned I wish they would come out with a 1.1 stub number 6 size. But to my great surprise, I was listening to, I think it was one of the reviewers was reviewing the P20, kind of a revisit as well. I think it was Chris Rapp. And he mentioned, and of course you can get it with the 1.1 stub. I said, the 1.1 stub? Oh, that's a novelty. So I was going to suggest to you that was something new in the market, the 1.1 stub. And then I said, let me just check my P20s to see whether or not I was mistaken. And there you have it. I've owned this pen was probably one of my first P20s. And in any event, whether it was or wasn't, to my great surprise, there's the 1.1. So it's been out for a while. And I thought I'd revisit this pen. Let me just see if it writes. So this is the, Asvine P20. I'm going to call it crushed green. I forget what they call it. With the Asvine number 6 steel 1.1 stub. What a beautiful nib. So when I picked up this pen, it was like buying a new one. Because I had forgotten that I had already the 1.1 stub. I tried to see if I can purchase it separately so I can replace other nibs in other of my Asvine pens, but I couldn't find it. If you guys know where I can find the Asvine 1.1 stub sold separately, I checked on Etsy, and you may know that what's happened with Etsy is that for some reason they've been blocked out of the Etsy store. Because I checked on AliExpress, couldn't find it. Checked on Amazon, couldn't find, just a nib. So I said, let me check Etsy, because I know that they sold on Etsy. And I couldn't find any Asvine pens And I thought it was strange. And then I read a blog somewhere that apparently Etsy is kind of said no more. And they're not allowed to sell anymore on Etsy, which is unfortunate. That's not nice of Etsy, but they have their reasons. I know there was an explanation in the blog that I read, but so no more Etsy. Beautiful net. Very, very nice. Which brings me to another Chinese pen that I want to revisit. One of you asked me, how does the Mammoth from Canwright, Mammoth 9, with that, just tremendously big number 9 size nib, compare to the Wing Sung or the Yunlai 930? So there you have a comparison of the nibs. Now, don't let that fool you, because the Canwright nib just kind of goes in deeper than the 930. I think if you start there, you can see that they're comparable. Okay, beautiful nibs. How do they compare? Well, let's do some writing with them. So let me cap the poke pen, as I call it, which, by the way, was my winner last year. I know that some of you preferred others, but this is my winner. This is the Canwright. Let's hope it writes. Whoop. No, it doesn't. Did I ink this? Oh, I think I forgot to ink it. Be right back. I didn't ink it. I just kind of dipped it in water just to see, because I'm not sure there's still any ink in here. Canwright. Mammoth. Nine. With the Canwright. Just a beautiful pen. Number 9. Nib. Steel. I really like its shape. A little bit different from the larger pens from Ranga. I think the combination. By the way, I've ordered a Canwright, a Lotus pen, another Indian pen. It's going to come in soon. It's going to be a surprise. But take a look at the shape of that. I think that cap makes it really, really nice. I really like the way it feels. Very smooth, very well done in terms of the some of the ebonite. I know that Canwright is, a lot of people criticize their quality control, but this pen is worth every single penny. I recommend it, folks. So let's compare it to, let's see if my 930 writes. I didn't check. So I'm going to call this Wing Sung 930 with a Wing Sung number 9 broad steel nib. By the way, what was the, let me tell you what do they have the, how big is the nib? I believe it was a broad, but there's no inscription there, but yeah, I don't see any. I believe it was a broad on the Canwright. It writes kind of a medium, but this Wing Sung, I think they're both very different writing experience. And of course, it being a broad, it does go down smoother. So I said to myself, well, pull out a 930. This is the more traditional cigar shape. Let me pull out the medium. Is this the fine or the medium? This is the medium, just to compare apples to apples. Oh, no, it's the Wing Sung. And if this is medium, then it's much smoother than the Wing Sung. If this is broad, then you can compare it to the broad. But I still prefer in the 930. I still prefer the broad nib. I got to tell you, folks, anybody, if you have not purchased this 930, go for it. One of my best pens of 2020, 2025. Really, really nice. And it won, for me, the Chinese pen of the year. Very beautiful pen. And I've got the, I don't know if it's a limited edition, but the special edition, a dedication to the Pope, who passed away in 2025. There you have it. Gorgeous finial, good shape. I like the flat top version, the Pro Gears version, if you will. So that's very, very nice. So what else have I got to you that I have to revisit? Oh, yes. Okay, so I'm back. So those of you who watched my recap last week were given the impression that this combination that you see on the screen, this is what I purchased on AliExpress. I purchased that Mackie, one of the Mackie pens, which is beautiful, that can accommodate a Pilot Custom 743 nib system. And I said to myself, well, I don't like the idea of emptying out my 743. But the only way that I could put a nib into this Mackie pen is to get a 743 system to fit into it. And I found the nib that would go with the feed, a 743 feed. And I thought I found the housing that, and you'll see there, that's the housing I've purchased. I thought I found the housing that could accommodate the 743 nib along with this modified Yowo nib. And those of you pointed out, it won't work, Vincent, it won't work, and I kept insisting that it would. Well, I'm wrong. I ordered the wrong housing. The housing you see on this, on the photograph from Flexible Nib Factory, is meant to go into basically a Yowo pen, if you will. I don't have a Yowo pen with this Mackie. I have a 743 pen. So what I should be looking at is not this particular feed, but I should be replacing. In other words, I need another Pilot Custom 743 nib housing. That's what I need. So you can scrap all this. It's not going to work. But what I've done is that I've contacted Flexible Nib Factory and asked them whether or not they can reproduce for me a Pilot Custom 743 housing. Not the one you see on the screen. That fits a Yowo pen, okay, essentially. And we shall see. So those of you who told me that I was wrong and that it wouldn't work, you're absolutely right. It doesn't work. At the end of the day, what I do have now is the possibility with this housing that you see on the screen. I have the possibility of taking my 743 nib, that FA nib that I have with the feed, put it into this housing and put it into any pen that can accommodate a Yowo nib. For example, a Leonardo, I would hope, with a Con 70 converter, which I've ordered as well, by the way. So you were right. We'll see if Flexible Nib Factory can reproduce for me, in other words, copy a 743 housing, and then we're all set. But I thought I'd clarify that. Okay? Thanks. We will now go to the next segment. Okay, so we're back for the next segment, which is weapons for next week. Now, here's what inspired me to make my choice for this week. I was surfing for pens, as we often do. And I believe that Conklin has come out with another 1898, a very popular model. And that got me thinking about, which really tempted me because the acrylic, the color was very nice. And the price is reasonable. You know, those pens don't go for a fortune. And then I said to myself, Vince, you've got 6 Conklins that are the same shape. There's the 1898 and the All-American, which are essentially very similar pens, except the 1898 has this very special center band. And they always dry up on you. What's the point of getting another 1898? So that kind of inspired me to take out all my 1898s and my All-Americans from Conklin and wash them all out, take a look at them, and try to see whether or not this dry nib issue can be resolved, or whether it's just the inks that I used. And let me tell you what my thinking is. Let me go to my overhead camera. Okay. This is an All-American. Okay, now essentially if you take the All-American and compare it to the 1898, it's essentially the same pen, except that the 1898's got this beautiful center band. Okay. And the old Conklins, All-Americans, are supposed to have a Bach nib. Now, let me just, maybe, do I have one with a Bach nib? It just occurred to me that they may all, because I changed all my Bach nibs. Yeah. 1 second. Does this one have? No. Okay. Well, they originally had, or they had some kind of a nib. I think it was Bach made, and they switched them all to Yowo. I've already done that because I've replaced all my All-American nibs, the old ones, with Yowo nibs. And then I saw my most recent one, which is this one, my 1898. It's supposed to have the new Yowo nib. Now let me just close up. Okay? Except when I look at the feed, that to me does not look like a Yowo feed. Okay? This looks like a Yowo feed. Where is it? You see that? That big juicy feed, as opposed to that one. And I said, maybe the problem is in the feed. That feed just doesn't do the job. And why doesn't it have this big Yowo feed? I tried to put that feed in this pen. It doesn't work. So maybe it's a question of the size of the pen, making it such that this section doesn't accommodate, because this is a much larger body in this feed. So you've got this skinnier feed right there, which resembles the old feeds that they had with the old nib. If you can see that, they're exactly the same. So they're using the same feed, but apparently the nibs now are Yowo made. They got this special branding and that half moon, but they're Yowo nibs. I think the problem is in the feed. What do you think? What do you think? I tried to get a Yowo feed in there. I can't, which is unfortunate. So in any event, having said all of that, I decided to re-wash and re-ink all my, and here they are. So these are going to be my weapons for next, whoops, let me just, before I spill everything. These are going to be my weapons. Of course, we're going to put in the Asvine, the lemon, and the Ferris wheel that we just saw. And I've added, 6 Conklins that I have. I'm going to write with them now and see what happens. So that's my inspiration. Those are my thoughts. Let's go and write. Okay, so this is the All-American. So this is the Conklin. All-American. And we'll brown. It's got a Yowo 1.5 stub. And the ink is Leonardo Noce Moscato. I'll just put Noce, okay? And I can tell you, now, is it the feed? Why is this huge 1.5 stub not writing any thicker? And there again, my suspicions are the feed, but I could be wrong. This is another All-American, again with another, is this 1.1? Another 1.5. Conklin All-American. This one's writing a little thicker, mind you. This is the Yowo. It's a Goulet pen Yowo 1.5 stub. As I mentioned several times on my channel, originally on in my pen collection, I had only stubs. And the ink is the sky blue from Dieman. These stubs are nice, though. We'll see if it dries up on me. Next one is this one here, another All-American, kind of a turtle shell. Again, it's got a 1.5 Goulet pens. Conklin All-American. It's got a Yowo 1.5 stub. Leonardo Noce Moscato. This one's writing thin like the first one. I mean, even this way, it's having a hard time making that huge, you know, if I don't press, look, very little line variation. It's like the ink is not coming out. Then I go to my 1898s. Now, these 1898s, I believe that this was one of the first 1898s, and that it did, at this point, they did go to Yowo. Okay, so let's take a look at, we'll put them on this side. So this is the Conklin, this one doesn't even write. Conklin, I just inked this. 1898. And this one's got the number 6 steel. Is it a 1.1? Yeah. It's got a 1.1 stub. But look, it's having a hard time. If I don't, the feed is not keeping up. And this is not a bad ink. This is Dieman Emerald. And if I write lightly, I got to really press. And even if I press, it's not giving me a big 1.1 stub line. I think those feeds are not made for those nibs. Same thing. Let's go to my next 1898. Beautiful pen. Beautiful, you know, decorative band. Conklin 1898. again, not feeding that nib. The nib is, again, a 1.1 stub. And the ink is Hongdian, and these are wet inks. Blackish green. It's having a hard time. This is lightly. It's not putting down enough ink for that stub. Next is my most recent purchase. And this one I think has a medium nib. Let me just check. Yeah, this has a medium nib. Okay? Again, same crappy feed. Conklin. This one, it's having a hard time writing. It's got a medium nib. It's barely writing like a fine. So, folks, I'm going to try these pens. I'm going to give them a go. We'll see all week what they do. Come back and revisit them next week. But my funny suspicion is they have to change the feed. Now, do other Conklin pens that come with those new Yowo nibs have the big feed? I'm not sure. I can't test it because I can't get one of those feeds to go into the nib section of these All-Americans or 1898s, which I believe are the bigger pens that Conklin is offering these days. So this is a Bach feed, and even the Bach feed, I may want to use that Bach feed just to test it during the week. Even that Bach feed is a little different from theirs. You see? So I'm not even sure they're Bach feeds. They're just maybe, and maybe some of these, be it Yobo or Bach, come with different feeds depending on what the specifications are. I don't know if that Bach feed fits in here. I'm going to try it and see if that feed is a little bit better, and if it fits. And we'll come back next week and I'll give you some of my findings. Do you have problems with your Conklins? Am I the only one? Beautiful pens, greatly priced. And I've got more. I've got the same problem with Monteverde. They dry up on me. And I think the nibs, Monteverde Conklin, anyway, there's some connection there. Beautiful pens. The Monteverde are even less expensive. They just don't do the trick for me. But we shall see. Weapons of the next week. I've got the three others just in case. I got the Asvine, which will write, and the Lemon, which will write for sure. What will the Ferris wheel press do? We'll revisit next week. Okay? That's it for this week's Weapons. Stay tuned for the next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back with the final segment, which is YouTube review. What have I got for you? Well, first of all, on my channel last week, as you know, for those of you who had the pleasure of watching the two videos, we reviewed the Aurora International, so you've got that one. Beautiful pen, I got to tell you. Controversial because of its price, but it's still a beautiful pen in my view. And I also reviewed the TWSBI Obsidian, which, unlike the Aurora, price is not an issue. I think it's a beautiful pen. And I may have inked it the wrong way, but as it turns out, it's a real gem. It's a real gem from TWSBI. I think it's probably my favorite TWSBI pen to date. So those are my two reviews from last week, along with last week's recap, which can be seen and digested at any time with the timestamps. Not an issue. It's not time-driven at all. And what have I got for you next week? Well, there's a series of reviews and block-type videos that I've already done, and I'm working on a few others. We've got my review of the Omas 360, which should be coming up soon. We got my Ebonite pen collection video. I've got my top 5 Dieman pens. And I just completed a review of my top storage suggestions and alternatives for you. So those are 4 coming soon videos for you on my channel. In terms of other channels, I have 3 videos that I really enjoyed. Fudefan reviewed the new Conid Maximalistica. What a beautiful pen. But there again, like some of our Italian pens, a little expensive. But if you enjoy that Conid and are interested in seeing how that Conid works and why it's so special, check out Fudefan. He does a great job with that review. We got Goulet Pens has published a video. I think it's one of its weekly videos. But what's interesting in that particular segment is that he reviews the 1911, the Sailor 1911 casual large steel nib pens. I'm always wondering whether those new Sailor steel nibs are worth the price and whether they're going to take over and how do they compare with the gold. So that's an interesting review. Then you have my friend at Wonders Unlocked. He did this great video about, first of all, some very personal exchanges there. He goes into a little bit of family history, and he then goes into describing how he took his Mont Blanc 149 and he had it modified by an artist, essentially, with some silver skin on it. And I got to tell you, what a work of art. That 149 is just absolutely outstanding now. And he explains where the graphics or where all the engraving on the silver skin, where it comes from and how it has a special meaning and goes back to, right down to his family piano and maybe even some of the decorations in one of his living rooms, etc., etc. I invite you to take a look at that video. Very, very entertaining, and that pen is just fabulous. I think it's probably the ultimate Grail pen that anybody can ask for. So take a look at that as well. That's it for me, folks. It's now Easter time. Enjoy your Easter with your family if you do celebrate it. If not, enjoy your weekend. And folks, spring is coming. It's around the corner. I can smell my golf course from a distance. I'm looking forward to it. And getting out of this hibernation here in winter is it's long in Montreal. And, when spring comes along, snow has melted. I understand we're going to get some flurries maybe next week, but it should be, flurries that come down and melt fairly quickly. I can see the grass. I can see all my flower beds. So it's good news. It's good news. Please subscribe if you haven't. It takes a lot of work to do these type of reviews. And if you've enjoyed them, please subscribe. It's free, no cost to you, and helps the channel. Thank you very, very much, and have a great Easter Sunday.